Well, hello, everyone. Greetings to you this wonderful Sunday. I hope you are all keeping well. It's actually probably Monday for some of you already. It's a rainy day here in Britain, which is actually very much needed. It's been an incredibly dry period of time here, and despite the fact that we all like sunny, dry weather, the plants really, really needed the rain. So we actually haven't had nearly enough today. This is just a sprinkling. Anyway, I hope the introduction was smooth. I could see a bit of buffering, so yeah, I'll have to look at that again. But anyway, welcome everyone. I hope you're keeping fabulously. I had a very busy week of live performances, as some of you may be aware. Started last weekend, went throughout the week, and so yeah, I've been catching up or trying to catch up on a bit of rest. There were a few very, very late nights, or I should say early mornings, returning from various venues. But it was a good start. And to anyone who saw us at those various venues, I hope you enjoyed it. It seems like everyone did. It was a good way to begin the season of live shows and festivals. And yeah, it was really good. So, and for those of you who didn't, I know there's been a lot of videos posted online, and some of you have seen them, and that's great. That's one way to experience it. I hope you'll experience some live performances in person more and more as time goes by. We'll see what happens, but I know that a lot of you have voiced an interest that will happen more and more, and all I can say is that's the plan, definitely, in various forms. So let's catch up and see how everyone's doing here. Um, we've got a lot of people actually jumping in today. Um, we've got Vanillaville Resort. Hi, Clark and everyone. I think you're in Thailand, aren't you? Hello to you. Bob is saying, morning, guys. I'm having a lot of buffering issues here. Oh, dear. Okay, well, I think I did as well, actually. I was monitoring on my laptop, so I might have to do a different introduction, because it is quite a visually intensive introduction, so I might have to look at that. Alice is saying rainy in Seattle too all weekend. Well, it's in the right balance, it's a good thing, isn't it, Alice? Alejandro is saying, "Hola Clark, feliz de verte en otro episodio. It's a cool day here, ideal for good music. Great. Greetings from Argentina. Greetings to you, Alejandro. Hola." Lax is saying not a smooth intro either. Okay, well, we'll have to deal with that. Okay, Fatima saying, "Clark, your voice sounds like it's been lowered a few octaves." Oh, that's really interesting. That might just be singing a lot this last week. It'll return to, well, no, it's probably how it's going to sound for a while now, actually. Kelly is saying glorious sunshine and blue skies at 25 degrees here near Leiden. Wow, Kelly, that's I noticed someone else. I think Marcia said it was very sunny over there as well. Who else have we got here? Ezria, hi Clark, nice white shirt you're wearing today. Yes, Ezria, I got this yesterday, actually. I went on a shopping trip and got a few things for stage wear, actually, but this is one of the things I got just for me. Sarah Ann is saying, tell me about it, Clark. Great weather for gardens, but not gardeners. Oh, yeah, I know. I can well imagine, Sarah Ann. Darren saying, hi, Clark. Hi, Darren. How you doing? Howard saying, greetings. I'm having Clipper instant coffee. I didn't know they did that, Howard. Oh, very interesting. We're getting even more advertising, free advertising for Clipper. You've reminded me. Very nice. I hope it's good, Howard. Let me know. Carol, I was in Ibiza last week, so I'm back from a hot, sunny time. Hope you're all well. I'm sure it was very nice there, Carol. I hope you had a great time. Lisa is saying, Lucretia Witcher, thank you. Oh, there's a conversation between the two of you. That's great. Lots of people actually saying hello to each other. Russ is saying, hi, Clark. Nice to see you again. Hi, Russ. Sorry, Juanita, and I have missed the last two due to work. I've been in Estonia. Oh, okay, Russ, no problem. You know, you've got to do what you got to do. and Estonia's a fair old distance. So glad you could be here this time. Um, okay. Ray Sean is saying, I'm glad that you enjoyed the live performances. I saw you out there on Instagram doing your thing. Yes, it was really good, actually, Ray Sean. It was excellent to be back on stage. We went from a big show last weekend to some intimate shows in London. And yeah, I mean, interestingly, there's a real difference between what I do with Johnny Hates Jazz and what I do on my own. And what I do on my own, here we are in Journey Songs, is of course I play. You know, I'm a singer songwriter, and what I do with Johnny Hates Jazz, and traditionally I've always done this, is that I'm the front person, I'm the vocalist. So I'm there, you know, with a microphone doing my thing. But it actually, the most natural thing for me to do is to play a piano and sing. And I think I've said this to you before, I tend to sing better, I think, when I'm at a keyboard. There's something about the resonance of feeling, even though this is a digital piano, about feeling the keys through my hands that just helps me connect with my voice better. I don't know. I don't think the audience would feel that necessarily. I think that's an internal thing for me. So, yeah, they're very different performance elements. So this is just a different kind of performance in a way. Okay. Annie, who was there at the first London gig. Hello, Annie. How you doing? Yes, could have listened for hours. Actually, Annie, yeah, it went really quickly, didn't it? It was a 90-minute show with like a 20-minute break in between, and it did feel like it went really quickly. I very much agree. Jill is saying, I really look forward to these live streams. It makes my whole week better. That's wonderful, Jill. I look forward to them too. Okay, I want you to know that it's a a real moment in time for me. So great. I'm glad you feel that way. And Sandy is saying, you look tired, Clark. Glad to see the fox on the piano. Yes, there's always there. And so is Cocopelli behind me as well. Yes, I'm a bit tired, to be honest. It's been a real push, and that's probably going to continue throughout the summer. So I better get used to it. Nice to see you, Sandy. Thanks for joining us. What Bob's having Diet Mountain Dew for you? Oh, okay, yeah. Well, it's probably different weather there, Bob. I can well imagine. Marcia's saying, hi, Clark. The Road Not Taken is a very beautiful song. Love both versions, which we'll get to in a minute. Every live stream, I think this is my favourite song. But you wrote so many beautiful songs that it's just hard to choose one favourite. Proof that you are such a brilliant musician. Thank you, Marcia. That's a lovely comment. Really beautiful. And it's very touching that you've chosen this one as your favourite song. You wouldn't be the first person. I think there are a few people, especially interestingly in the professional musician realm, who feel this was my best song. Interestingly. I think Stephen W. Taylor, who I've talked to you about before, who mixed, did the remix of Tomorrow, that's going to be on Journey Songs 2, and who mixed Magnetized, felt that way about The Road Not Taken. Absolutely love that song. So great, thank you very much, Marcia. Kimberly's saying, hi Clark and everyone, loving all the videos posted this week of Clark's shows. Thanks so much for posting, everyone. Yes, thank you everyone for posting. Annie, I know you did a lot of filming, but there were others as well, so thank you everyone for doing that. Much appreciated. Steve is saying, hi Clark, bit of buffering again, but up and running okay now. You know what, I think it must be something to do with the size of the intro. Yeah, maybe it's time for a different intro. It's a shame, I really like that intro. Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Marek is saying, hi Clark, my best regards to you and all viewers. Enjoy your Sunday afternoon as much as I do. Yeah, I will, Marek. Thank you. This is it. It revolves around this, around Journey Songs. Ferdous is saying, hello Clark, looking good. Thank you very much. Belstaff, it's another bit of advertising there. Okay, that's not real advertising, folks. I never advertise anything, as you know. I'm just having fun with that stuff. And Vicky is saying, morning from Chicago. Morning, Vicky. Been looking forward to the story behind this song. Great. Well, we're going to dive into that in a minute, Vicky. I thought I'm going to keep this one actually quite simple, not visually intensive. and really focus on the story of the song and the song itself. And part of that is that I've had a hell of a week, and I needed to be quite low key today. Um, but also, it's a very inner song. It's the story is inside. There's not you know I although I could visualize it more, and then there are some visuals. I think it's more important that I try and communicate what I'm trying to say, because I think that it's very relevant to all of us, and that's what I'm hoping, that the song will actually trigger something in you, whether from the past or the present or something that's yet to come, because it's very much a song about healing. This one, it's a healing song. Not all songs are. Even if they may be inadvertently, this is specifically about healing. And yes, initially about my own, but I think that it's much bigger than that. So we'll get to that. Okay, where are we? We've got Sania. Good evening. Um, you're saying, I think, Querly Kesh. Is that Sania? Is that a greeting in your language? Well, thank you very much, Clark. Greetings from Kazakhstan. I probably said that completely wrong, so don't laugh too much. Um, how are you doing? Your performance on May the 12th of the Boyledale Club Canary Wharf was wonderful. Thank you, Sania. Yeah, we did the 11th and the 12th, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Um, Sylvia is saying, hello, Clark. I want to thank Ezria and the rest of the Journey Songs community for the birthday wishes and kind thoughts. Thank you. Sylvia, I'm belated happy birthday to you. I was completely unaware of that. Happy birthday. And well done, everyone, for wishing Sylvia happy birthday. It's lovely. The community is really, appreciated by everyone, I think. So well done, everyone. Once again, big thank you to Neil for Neil Martin for running the community. And keeping it going. It's a fantastic thing. So well done, everyone. Polly is saying, hi, no buffering here and sounds fine. Ready for another journey moment. That's really interesting, Polly. Well, that says to me that it's down to our connections then. But it never used to happen with the old Journey Songs intro, did it? So it still must be something to do with the size of the intro. But thanks for letting me know, Polly, because that kind of changes my perspective slightly. Anton saying, greetings to everyone. Have a wonderful evening in a good company. Thank you very much, Anton. I'm going to zoom ahead now because we've got to get to this. Darren saying, would absolutely love to see you live. Please come to Northern Ireland. Darren, I'd love to. We're not coming to Northern Ireland. Johnny X Jazz are coming to Kildare. I know it's not the north, obviously. Coming to Kildare in July, I think, to a festival called Forever Young. If you are able to get down to it, that's the closest we're going to get at this point, but hopefully we'll come to the north fairly soon. And Roz, hello Roz, how you doing? Afternoon, all great JHJ week. Roz was there on the 11th. Good to see you, Roz. Thanks for checking in. Well, there's a lot of people here. Fatima, you said hello very early on, Fatima. I did. Yes, I was. I could see you. I noticed you said that. Clark, check your audio settings. Your sound sounds is off. I am checking my audio settings, and it looks good to me. So we'll see when I start playing what happens. So that's interesting. I don't know what you're referring to, Fatima. Maybe you can keep writing later. Write me another message, okay, and I'll pick it up later, okay? Because I know a lot of you have written messages further on. Everyone, I'm going to zoom ahead now, okay? Because I know a lot of you have said hello, and I'm seeing lots of messages here. From Sue. Hello, Sue, again. Great that you came to the gig. Richard, hello. How are you doing? Irina, Lucretia, Sandy, my goodness, David. Hello, David. How are you doing? David Lazondra. Sam, how are you? And Lottie as well. How you keeping? I'm just zooming ahead here. David Minnick, great. Yeah, my mom's doing well, David. Thank you very much. So I'm going to zoom ahead, everyone. I'm sorry, I'm just racing ahead here. Matt, how are you doing? Oh, Matt, you've got a lovely message here. Well, they're all lovely, but I want to read this one. This song has gotten me through so much. The breakup of me and my fiance 3 weeks before our wedding, after 6 years together. Very beautiful song to get you through the harder paths in life. Thank you for writing this amazing song, Clark. Happy Sunday to you all. Matt, I only just caught that as I was going through all the comments. That's very powerful. Really touches me. And I think that launches us into talking about the song. So thank you, Matt. That's a very, very, heartfelt reason to talk about the song. Okay. Thank you, man. All right. Okay, everyone. So, this song, everyone, The Road Not Taken, is about the need for self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness. Now, when I say that phrase, I say it twice, because when I first heard it, I'd never heard that phrase before. I never grew up with anyone talking to me about the concept of self-forgiveness. I always heard about forgiveness as coming from outside of me, from either another person or another entity, if you know what I mean. But not forgiving myself. So bear with me here, okay? Now, on a very practical level, there are two versions of this song. There's two recordings, and they're slightly different lyrically. The original version is on the album Tomorrow. And a remixed and remastered version will be on Journey Songs 2, along with another 32 songs. It's got 33 tracks on it, Journey Songs 2. It's longer than Journey Songs 1. It's epic. It's epic. So the original was on Journey Songs, Tomorrow. So that I wrote that probably in, I would say, 2005, 2006. And the lyric was more inclusive. It was about me and you. And it was always written about putting it in the context of a relationship, but also about regrets of other things in life. And that was true for the other version as well. But it was very much written so that other people, you, could relate to it as well. It was about me and you. And then it was re-recorded for Magnetized, which came out in 2013. So that was probably the re-recording happened in, I imagine, 2011, 2010, 2011, 2012, yeah. And when I first rejoined Johnny Hates Jazz, it was not just Mike. Calvin was still with us at that point, and they both really loved The Road Not Taken and asked to re-record it for that album. And then Calvin left, and me and Mike went ahead and did the recording. And I changed the lyric to make it just about me. And I did that because part of the reason I wrote the song was the fact that it was about my feelings of regret of having left Johnny Hates Jazz so soon when I did in 1988. Now, I've talked about this before in other Journey Songs episodes, so I'm not going to bore you with going over that too much more, okay? But it seemed appropriate that the Johnny Hates Jazz version would be really my version where I just dealt with myself and my own feelings of releasing that sense of regret and sadness. So they were the two versions. In this version that I'm going to play you later, I'm going to do the Tomorrow version, which is the one you've hopefully listened to on social media that I posted earlier in the week. Now, Let me ask you a question. Bearing in mind there's like a 20-second delay. Certainly there is on Facebook. I'm not sure on YouTube and Twitter if anyone's watching on those um, platforms. Yes, there are people watching on YouTube. Very good. Um, does anyone know which poem this song is inspired by? And I know I've now got to wait for someone to answer because there's a 20-second delay. Um, but it's a pretty obvious question. Perhaps I should say who the poet is who wrote this particular poem that this song is inspired by. So here's a question for you all. Which poem and which poet is this song inspired by? I'm looking at my comments, waiting for an answer, and I haven't had one yet. That's the beauty of live broadcasting. Well, whilst I'm waiting, I'll have a cup of Clipper tea. Organic, by the way. And here they come. Julie is first. Well done, Julie. You won. Robert Frost. Julie Stricker got there first. I just want to prove that. Very good, Julie. Slam dunk. You got it. Okay. So, just to clarify, Robert Frost was a poet from the United States of America, and he was born in 1874 and he died in 1963. And he's an absolutely wonderful poet. Wonderful poet. Now, let me quickly say, before I go further with talking about Robert Frost, on Journey Songs 2, there are two other songs that are inspired by famous poets. One is Percy Shelley, British poet. The other is William Blake. And I noticed actually that someone mentioned Blake earlier. Who was it? As a guess, which is a very good guess actually. It was Matthew Barry Whitley. Matthew, you're right. You weren't right on this case, but it was a good guess. There's another song on Journey Songs 2 inspired by William Blake, and another one inspired by Percy Shelley. This one is inspired by Robert Frost. Here we go. So Robert Frost, very, very famous in the United States. Actually, he lived in Britain between 1912 and 1915. And this is where he wrote The Road Not Taken, the poem. And which I only discovered after I'd written the song, The Road Not Taken. Now, the song is not the poem. I have not put music to the words of the poem. I was inspired by the title and the point of the poem, the concept of the poem, but there's no direct relationship between the words beyond that. But it's a beautiful poem. So yeah, he walked the countryside of Britain, and it was here that he had the inspiration for the poem. And actually, it was in Britain where he was published for the first time. He was embraced here first of all, which is not surprising because he writes in the style of what's called the British Romantic poets, Shelley, Blake, Byron, but very much one of the great US poets. So, what is The Road Not Taken? And a lot of people got it right actually after this. Very good, everyone. And actually Claire said The Road Less Travelled, which is a really interesting thing because a few people think of the poem in that way, Claire, because of the way the poem is articulated. So let's look at the poem, everyone. And I'm going to try and read it, relatively. It's not a long poem, so don't worry. I'm going to read it slowly so we all kind of get the point of it. Remember, he's walking in the countryside when he writes this poem. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely idea. Two roads diverged, separated, in a yellow wood. and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. So there are two paths in a wood, and he has a choice between going down one or down the other. And he looks down one and he thinks, that looks really fascinating, that one, that really calls to me. But then he decides to go down the other one because it calls to him just as much. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. So that really touched me, because he says when he took one path, he said to himself, one day I'll come back and I'll take the other one. But deep down he knew the way life happens, that wasn't going to happen. He will take that other path and his life will take a totally different direction. It was a really pivotal moment in his life. And yet he says, in a really beautifully optimistic way, I took the one less travelled by. I took the one that fewer people had walked. And that has made all the difference. That's a beautiful thing. So listen, everyone. Think about that. The message really is, walk your own path. Take the route that you feel is right, not the one that everyone else tells you is the right path necessarily, or the one that everyone else is walking. Sometimes the one that is a little more unusual, a little more obscure, is the one that actually leads to something unusually wonderful. I love that. I absolutely love that. So, before I go on, let's just see how everyone's doing. Veronica's saying beautiful lyrics. Yes, beautiful poem. I totally agree, Veronica. That, not mine, of course. Please remember, that's Robert Frost, the great Robert Frost. What have we got here? Sandy's saying never be bullied by silence. Very good. That's an excellent point. I like that, Sally. Lucretia's saying, we all have a road not taken, but you have to accept the one that you followed, which may cause pain and regret, but we never know until it is done. It can be hard, but it leads to a different end, which is not always a bad one, sometimes a very good one, sometimes just a different one, I think, Lucretia. Well said. Polly is saying we choose a path as if we can come back and see how it would have gone if we had chosen differently. Choose the path that seems exciting, enlightening, and a route of discovery. Yes, good, Polly. That's a wise perspective. Yes, very wise perspective. And Sue is saying story of life if we can make a choice. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Now, Kelly is also saying, do you feel that the path was taken with care and reason or in haste? You know what? It's a very good question, Kelly, and often we won't know until after we've made that decision, because we can't always make a decision under perfect circumstances. So, Sarah Ann is saying, I look back at some of my decisions over the years, and even though there's been quite a few missteps, I wouldn't change a thing. Well, that's good. You know what, Sarah Ann? That's also the wisdom of living a life and being a little bit older and being able to have some measure of how you've lived your life and how decisions have panned out. That's kind of how I feel as well. Very good. Very good. Okay, everyone. Well, let's move on, because why did that poem touch me? Because you know what, I've led a very individual and unusual life, and I have a lot to be thankful for. But in my younger years, like a lot of people, I was very split, and I had a lot of guilt and regret, and I judged myself, and I internally punished myself for some of my decisions, for sometimes the things I didn't do, for the life that I didn't live, that a voice in me insisted I should have lived, and in that sense, for getting it wrong, in quotes. Now, for me, that was, I've talked about this before. You know, a good example, of course, was leaving Johnny Hates Jazz when I did. At one of the gigs in London um, this week, a very smart man dressed in a three-piece suit came up to me after one of the gigs. I think it was on Thursday with his wife, and he said, "What happened to you? You were the biggest thing in the world." And I was kind of taken aback, because I don't often hear that from people in such a clear way. And I thought to myself, my goodness, it's true. For that moment, we pretty much were. And I just said to him, you know, it's a long story. But it touched into this sense of the decision that I made to walk away from something that I had worked so hard to create, along with Mike and along with Calvin. So really, the question is this: and that's just one example. I mean, there's other things that and I'm sure we all have, that were before the song and after the song was written, that I carried with me, that I felt regret over, and all the rest of it. But the Johnny Hates Jazz one is a good one because we're all familiar with it. The point is that why, on one hand, can we celebrate the decisions we've made and say, you know what, those are the choices I made, this is who I am now, and I feel very fortunate, and I'm glad I've lived the life that I've lived. And yet still have this feeling of, like I said, deep regret and even punishing ourselves. Well, this comes down to this notion of forgiving ourselves, because I think this has a lot to do with, obviously, society setting expectations for us. That's one thing. But I think it's also about external and higher authorities I was talking to you about earlier. External and higher authorities that are the ones that are supposed to forgive us and say, you know what, you got it wrong, but it's okay. You are forgiven. And actually, if you think about it, that's something that we are taught from a very young age. And if you grow up in a certain society, a totalitarian society, then it's a totalitarian leader that has the power to forgive you in the name of their ideology. If it's a very religious society, it's the religious leader who has the power to forgive you in the name of their theology. And both depend on kind of the false idea of a sense of godhood, of success, of perfection. But at the end of the day, it's absolute rubbish, because only you have the power to forgive yourself. No one and nothing else has that power. And this is something that I really had to come to. So I'm going to now actually go to some visuals, because I really came to this when I was working on the Tomorrow album and I was recording in Wales. This is Pembrokeshire in Wales. And I had rented a little cottage on the coast, set up a studio in there. This is in the early stages of recording Tomorrow. I'd been to Cornwall, I'd gone to the coast of Wales, and I spent a lot of time walking the paths of the coastal paths of Pembrokeshire and pondering this question of self-forgiveness. And it was there that I I really understood that I had a lot of work to do inside myself to let go of this burden that I was carrying around, that somehow I should have lived a different kind of life. I should have stayed with Johnny Hates Jazz and achieved A, B, C, D, and who knows what my life would have been. So I didn't actually end up recording the song until a few years later when I was in Arizona. And what I think is interesting is that if you listen to the song itself, I don't know if you can hear this, but there's a bit of Americana in it. I'm talking about musically. Um, I don't think there's a song before or since that I've written that has a sense of Americana to it. But I think that I'm very much of the opinion that the land where you are will influence you artistically if you allow it to. And it's not always what you want to do, but in the Road Not Taken's case, I really did allow the land of Arizona, the Southwest, to influence me musically, and I hear it in there. I hear it very much in the Tomorrow version. In the magnetized version, because it's got an orchestra on it and it's a bit more produced, it's just a lovely ballad. But in the Tomorrow version, it's got something of that land for me about it. And I think that's really interesting, that although the idea for the song came to me in Wales, when I actually came to write the song in its entirety, it happened in Arizona, and it has that sense about it, of that land. And I spent many a day walking the paths of that part of Arizona, pondering that song and how I wanted to say what I wanted to say. Okay, I need a cup of tea. Okay. So I hope all of that has made sense, folks, because really, I was thinking about this. And it's really important as I talk to you about this that you think about this in your own lives. I spent a lot of time punishing myself for making a decision that I made, in when I was 24, 25, and mostly punishing myself, not so much about how it affected other people, that was true, but how it affected my sense of what I thought my life should be. And the I kind of it reminded me a bit as I was working on this live stream, this episode of Journey Songs. It reminded me of a character in the Da Vinci Code. If anyone's seen, not just read the book, which I have as well, but if you've seen the film, the character of Silas in the film is played brilliantly by Paul Bettany, and he's a monk, a very extreme, twisted monk. But there's a scene in the film where he beats himself basically for his supposed sins before his God. And it's a really, really powerful sin, and it reminded me of the fact that we all kind of internalize this idea that, again, we need to seek forgiveness from outside ourselves. And that's not to say we shouldn't want to apologize to people sometimes. That's absolutely right. But first, if that apology is going to come from the right place, we have to forgive ourselves first and say, you know what, I'm only human. I'm only human. And I have the right to make mistakes. And maybe they're not even mistakes, to quote another song of mine. It's just two paths diverging in a yellow wood. And which one do you choose? That was my case. How are we all doing? Okay, that was my explanation of where the Road Not Taken came from. I was carrying this weight of a decision I'd made in my early 20s around with me, and I finally had to release it. And I did with this song. So, Kelly is saying this. The most wholesome and refreshed I've ever felt was when I was walking the earth in western US states and the national parks. Blissful solitude. Oh, that's wonderful, Kelly. Yeah, that's one of the powers of the Americas, actually, I'd say, because I found that also when I've been in Argentina. Um, it has the same, evokes the same power. Incredible, the power of that land. Um, so, what else have we got? Well, actually, Ray Sean is saying this. I think you should have stayed with Johnny Hates Jazz. There is no telling how it would be. Well, you see, this is the thing. There is no should or shouldn't, because I've been saying that to myself for years. It's very hard to know. You know what? If I'd made that decision to stay and for whatever reason it had affected me adversely, that means in a negative way personally, and I wouldn't be with you today doing this, I would be in a not a good state of mind or health, then it wouldn't be the right thing to do. So I think it's important that this is a really important point actually, and I wanted to conclude with what I've been saying about this. Um, we need to forgive ourselves for things we've done in the past that we feel we didn't get right, or we feel we could have done better, or actually perhaps we did get right, but we've just lived with the idea that they weren't. They weren't the right things to do. So what I was going to say to you is, more than anything, this is about appreciating the life that we are living and not dwelling on how life supposedly should have been. That, I think, is the most valuable thing in the universe. Appreciation of the life that we actually have. So you know what, folks? Use this song as a guide. If any one of you are carrying around anything from the past that you feel you need to release, use this song as a guide, just like I used the poem, The Road Not Taken, as a guide. Use the song as a guide. Put your headphones in, go out for a walk, and work to release that guilt and that regret. Go for it. I challenge you to do that. If I can do it, you can. Okay. Everyone, I'm going to just check in on a couple of people here. Neil is saying, I've gone from disliking myself to self-awareness that I'm by no means perfect, but then who is? Neil, totally with you. Totally with you. Self-awareness is hugely important, and none of us are perfect. And that's a hugely important statement. Howard is saying, ambivalence is interesting, that you can be positive and negative about something at the same time. You can still have regrets about making the right decision. New roads ahead, though, brings a lot of healing. A great song and gift to us all. Excellent. Thank you, Howard. Lovely. And what else have we got here? I'm just seeing... Ezria is saying, yes, Clark, you've made a very tough decision to move on in the past, and I believe this decision has caused you a big wound, and thankful that you at last get rid of that and live life to the full now. Thank you very much, Ezria. Yes, absolutely. Darren is saying, so our perspective is different, and sometimes you have to learn to accept mistakes and endeavour not to repeat them. This is true. This is true. But it's that same thing again. It's that I come back to this. Yes, I'm going to actually pick on something that Fatima is saying. I feel like our choices, as conditional as they are, turn out to be blessings in disguise. You speak about the regret of leaving JHJ. However, had you stayed, you would have sacrificed your creativity, purpose, and message to the world, all for a mold they were trying to put you in. You knew what was best for you. Fatima, that's right, and that is that's the higher part of me and how I see it, exactly. But you still have to wrestle with yourself. You still have to wrestle with other parts of yourself, which is why I'm saying that we all have that split inside ourselves. But I appreciate what you're saying, and that is really what I came to, and that voice in me at that time was feeling that. So thank you. Okay, everyone, I think it's time for the song. So, another sip of tea. Now, let's go into performance mode so you can see my... what I'm going to do, I am going to sing, as I said earlier, I'm going to sing the Journey Songs 2 version, lyrically. Although I've sung the magnetised version a lot live, we've done it a lot live. So here we go. The things that you could have done, the songs that I should have sung, but it wasn't that easy. The times that you could have stayed, the love that we would have made, no, it wasn't that easy. These are the thoughts that come back to haunt you late at night. Why can't you forgive yourself for the road not taken, a path forsaken, and though your heart is breaking, ain't it time to move on? The life that we could have shared, the beauty and the despair, or so I believed. And yet my greatest mistake, the road that I chose to take, took me away. No, there's no holding on to something that's gone and wasn't to be. Then why can't I forgive myself for the road not taken, a path forsaken, and though my heart is breaking, ain't it time to move on? Move on. And now the tears have been shed, there are new roads ahead. I can set myself free. Time to forgive ourselves for the road not taken, it time to move on? Hey, the road not taken. I hope Mr. Frost would approve of that, even though, like I say, it's a different lyric. It's inspired by his beautiful, beautiful message that it's the path less traveled by that he took, and that has made all the difference. And I like to think that the decision that I made all those years ago to leave a hugely successful group that had everything going for them actually, in its own way, made all the difference. Time will tell, because there's still a lot ahead. For me and for all of us. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining me. Next Journey Songs will be in 2 weeks. I think I'm going to have a guest for the first time in this season. I will reveal who it is if that's going to transpire very soon. I think you'll be very interested if it goes according to plan. And I hope you enjoyed that today. I recognise I did a lot more talking and there were less visuals and everything, but I hope I conveyed my point to you clearly about self-forgiveness. You don't need to forgive external authorities, forgive yourself. That's the most important thing. Okay, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, that's one of the most personal songs I've ever written for myself. I want you to know that. I might have said that about a few other songs, but The Road Not Taken I wrote as a older guy, and it still has a lot of poignancy for me, because we still have to work on these things in ourselves, I think, to become the biggest and deepest and strongest and most complete versions of ourselves. And that takes a lifetime of work. Okay, everyone, take care. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great 2 weeks. Take care of yourselves. For those of you who are going to see Johnny Hates Jazz next Saturday, I'll see you there. I'll see you on social media in between, everyone. Really take care of yourselves. And adios. Bye-bye.